Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 2nd of December. Impressive voter turnout as Kashmiris defy poll boycott in second leg of assembly elections. NATO to continue supporting Afghan forces to ensure stability against Taliban. And India's Interior Minister visits Chhattisgarh after Maoist attack killed 14 soldiers. And now for all the details, a record 71% voters exercised their franchise in the second phase of assembly polls in India's Jammu and Kashmir on Tuesday. The impressive figures come even as the separatists had called for a boycott of the ballot after the Himalayan province registered record voter turnout in the first phase last week. The province is voting in 5 lakhs to elect the new government.
Amid high enthusiasm from voters across all age groups, 18 constituencies in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir went to polls. Nearly 1.2 million eligible voters decided the fate of 175 candidates in the second leg on Tuesday. Long queues were seen outside polling booths from early hours in districts like Kulgam, Kupwara and Udhampur as voters exercised their franchise, braving the chilling Himalayan cold. Many said they are voting for better governance and development.
6 साल बाद हमें एक बार फिर अपना कैंडिडेट चुनने का मौका मिल रहा है एक बेटर गवर्नमेंट के लिए बेटर डेवलपमेंट के लिए आज हम फिर वोट देने के लिए आए हैं.
Security was stepped up across all the 18 constituencies to avoid any untoward incident. Following the first round of polls last week, which saw a record turnout of over 71%, militants had stepped up attacks in the province in the past few days. Thousands in sensitive areas, however, defied the call of separatists to boycott the polls and turned out to cast their ballot. Voters said the boycott call and threats haven't affected their spirits.
हमें वोट डाला है क्योंकि हम वोट से आगे बढ़ गए यहाँ जो भी कुछ हुआ है हमने वोट डाल के हासिल किया है. बाइकआउट वगैरह की नहीं बाइकआउट की कॉल नहीं.
India's federal ruling Bharatiya Janata Party is eyeing a shot at capturing power in the province for the first time, with its poster boy Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself leading the campaign. Eastern Jharkhand province also went to polls for its second round of assembly polls on Tuesday, including Jamshedpur, Ranchi and Maoist-sensitive constituencies like Gumla.
Despite the formal end of its combat mission in Afghanistan, NATO has promised a continued support to the country. This comes as the Taliban insurgents have increased attacks on both civilians and foreigners.
Afghan President Ashraf Ghani and Chief Executive Officer Abdullah met NATO Chief Jens Stoltenberg on Monday to discuss the security situation in the country. Stoltenberg assured that the NATO is committed to continue its support in training and assisting the Afghan forces to ensure stability in the country.
We need to move forward with our new mission, the resolute support, to train, advise and assist the Afghan National Security Forces from the 1st of January 2015. And build on our common achievements as Afghans take responsibility for their security. We will help to continue to help finance the Afghan National Security Forces.
Afghan CEO Abdullah said the country has made substantial progress in improving the security situation in the country. He, however, reiterated the role of NATO in further reinforcing the Afghan troops.
Afghanistan is a different place. It's not a hub for terrorists, and the terrorist groups have lost the capacity to launch attacks like 9/11. But we need your continued support, and as a result, with the new spirit of cooperation that you will see from the National Unity Government, the scope for changing the environment, not only for Afghanistan, but for the region, as well as for the world peace, is much greater than we can imagine.
As the NATO forces continue to formally withdraw from Afghanistan, its local army has the task of defending the country from the Taliban. Though the presence of Western troops will continue for another decade, they will be tasked only to train and equip the Afghan army. The Taliban, which was ousted in 2001, has recently stepped up attacks targeting the security forces. According to local media, the newly appointed Afghan President Ghani has begun back-channel negotiations with the Taliban, which was stalled last year.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condemned the Maoist ambush in central Chhattisgarh on Monday that left at least 14 paramilitary soldiers dead. Intelligence agencies now fear of more strikes from the insurgents with the weapons they looted from the forces.
The Maoists planted one of their most brazen attacks this year in Chhattisgarh Sukma district on Monday. The ultras not just targeted the paramilitary troopers but also looted their weapons. India's Interior Minister Rajnath Singh arrived in the central province on Tuesday to take stock of the situation. He even held talks with the state leadership and security officials to work out a plan towards stopping the Maoists from striking back. The country's political circuit called it an act of cowardice and a dastardly act of violence.
This dastardly act should be condemned by one and all. Words fall short to pay our homage for these brave soldiers of India. The Home Minister of the country, Shri Rajnath Singh, has gone to Chhattisgarh today to take stock of the situation and as to how these situations can be averted in the future.
Many said a prompt action was required to tackle the situation.
We must deal with these issues on two fronts. One is by cracking down with force, but the other also has to be to extend more developmental activities in those areas, and I hope both will be done.
The Maoists claim that they are fighting for the rights of poor farmers and labourers for decades. Currently estimated to be between 6,000 and 8,000, the rebels have a presence in nearly a third of India's 630 districts. The Red Corridor now extends from central to eastern India, including many resource-rich regions. The Maoists often attack railway lines and mining operations to cripple economic activity. Thousands have been killed by the insurgents since the late 1960s.
The Indian Reserve Bank kept key lending rates unchanged in its bi-monthly policy review on Tuesday. The central bank has maintained a repo rate at 8% and cash reserve ratio at 4%. Reserve Bank Governor Raghuram Rajan said the decision was taken after considering the current and evolving macroeconomic situation in the country. The Apex Bank has also kept the growth target for the current fiscal unchanged at 5.5%. However, it has expressed concern over the fall in industrial output, which fell to 1.1% in September, and said that a rise in investment is critical for a sustained pickup in overall economic activity. India has planned to roll out a regional business corridor with its South Asian neighbours. The move is expected to boost trade ties and enhance economic assistance between India and the region.
Bangladesh Prime Minister's Energy Affairs Advisor Tawfique Elahi Chaudhry recently announced an India-China-Bangladesh-Myanmar economic corridor to get significant gains through sub-regional cooperation. Chaudhry said the planned corridor will improve support in the fields of connectivity, energy, trade and business sectors between the nations.
The relationship is growing, and under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, more grounds will be covered, I'm sure, in terms of connectivity, in terms of cooperation in energy and power, and increased trade and investment between the two countries.
The plan was reportedly chalked out at the 18th South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation or SAARC summit held in Nepal last week. Chaudhry, along with Bangladesh Power Minister Nasrul Hamid, will attend the inaugural ceremony of the Palatana Power Project in India's northeastern state of Tripura. India has also pledged to supply 100 megawatt of power from the plant to Bangladesh as a hallmark of cooperation.
A glittering venue echoing religious chants and outpouring blessings made the perfect ambience for more than 100 couples who entered wedlock in Western India recently. Take a look at what gave this nuptial its grandeur.
As wedding season sets in, Surat in the state of Gujarat came alive with one of the biggest it has ever hosted. As many as 111 couples broke all the barriers of caste and religions to tie the knot together under one roof. From chanting Vedic hymns to reciting Quranic verses, the mass wedding, which was hosted by a city-based diamond merchant, Mahesh Savani, had it all. Decked up couples exchanged garlands and sought blessings of their loved ones. Savani, who participated in each wedding with the same valor and enthusiasm, said his aim was to promote communal harmony.
और दूसरा समाज को एक ब्राह्मण जैसे ना स्रोत जैसे स्रोत में हाथी में लगना के अग्नि में हाथी में लगना नहीं करिया पर चालो प्रभु नाम लेने संबंध ना श्री गणेश करिए सपोर्ट करें.
The massive ceremony was arranged to support fatherless women whose families were not well enough to finance their daughter's nuptial. Savani reportedly also gifted each bride gifts of gold and other items worth $7,250 to start their married lives. Indian weddings are known for their grandeur with multi-course feasts, decorated horses, brass bands and huge tents arranged to entertain hundreds of guests.
Giving a perfect juxtaposition of style, class and glamour, one of the country's biggest fashion bandwagon returned with a delectable spread of the best from every designer's closet. Take a look.
With a venue set up with futuristic mannequins, the Blenders Pride Fashion Tour 2014 gave a sneak peek into collections that would rule the coming season. The two-day soiree had leading designers returning to the ramp with their creations. Designer Suneet Verma wooed the audience with his Shekhawati-inspired creations as models sashayed down the aisle to the beats of medieval pundits. Expounding on his style mantra, former Pakistani cricketer Wasim Akram made a rare appearance on the ramp as the style speaker. Ace couturier Neeta Lola also showcased her 50s-inspired vintage western designs fused with an Indian aesthetic. Bollywood actor Aditi Rao Hedri, who walked for Lola, added to the spread of gold and shimmer on the stage.
Actually, it's really light and it's very comfortable. What I love about it, of course, is that it's, I think, drawing from the 50s sort of vintage, old world, very graceful. There's this whole thing of sensuality, the sheer fabric that's used. And I think Neeta very rightly said it's like Marilyn Monroe meets Madhubala, and they're both such iconic actors and women and just everything.
Designers Shivan and Naresh showcased their latest swimwear collection. The main attraction of their designs was, however, the block saris. The duo had Bollywood diva and former beauty queen Sushmita Sen waltzing in as the showstopper in a bespoke orange block sari designed by them. She said she loved her modified swimsuit attire.
It is actually a swimsuit, और ये अगर यहाँ से उतर जाए तो अंदर पूरा swimsuit ही है, तो हमने बिल्कुल cheating नहीं की है. But we've kept the Indianness of Shivan and Naresh in this particular outfit, which I love. The fact that we love the sari and the uniqueness of imagining कि आप एक साड़ी का drape एक swimming costume पे इस कदर बिठा सकते हैं कि एक औरत की खूबसूरती को ढका भी जाए और दिखाया भी जाए. So I think that is spectacularly done, and the fact that it is red makes me very happy because it is my favorite color other than black.
The 10th edition of the fashion tour this year has already travelled to Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Kolkata and Bangalore.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Impressive voter turnout as Kashmiris defy poll boycott in second leg of assembly elections. NATO to continue supporting Afghan forces to ensure stability against Taliban. And India's Interior Minister visits Chhattisgarh after Maoist attack killed 14 soldiers. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.